So hello everyone, welcome to the BEwell Hub Series, where we explore stories of transformation, resilience, and purposeful leadership. My name is Gary Marcus Judge, and I'll be your host for this powerful session. Today, we are honored to welcome José Pereira. Pereira, is that right, the surname?
Pereira.
Oh, okay, an extraordinary leader, resilience coach, and international speaker. With over 35 years of leadership experience in the oil and gas industry, including key roles at PDVSA, you can tell us what that is later, and CITGO, Jose's life took an unimaginable turn in 2017, when he and his colleagues, known as the CITG-06, were unjustly detained in Venezuela. After enduring nearly 5 years of captivity, José emerged as a beacon of hope and resilience, transforming his experience into a mission to inspire and empower others. Through his compelling story and expertise, José will share profound insights on resilience, motivation, beliefs, emotional intelligence, and responsibility. José's memoir, From Hero to Villain, the true story of the CITG-06, is a gripping account of his experiences, offering profound lessons on survival, leadership, and the power of the human spirit. I'm really honored to have you here with us, José. So thank you for your time. Share the story with us and see what we can take away from this experience that you had.
Thank you very much, Gary, for having me. Before I begin, because I know that your audience are not so familiar, like here in the US, you are based in Rome, correct?
I'm in Rome. Yeah, I'm in Italy.
Okay, in Italy, so maybe your audience is more European. Okay, my story is very well known here in the US because we became really the political pawns between the international relations between the US and Venezuela during 2017. I was a oil and gas executive, as you said. PDVSA is the national oil gas company of Venezuela.
Okay.
Some decades ago was the fifth biggest oil company of the world, the fifth. So I began working in the fifth oil and gas company of the world. And CITGO is Citgo. Citgo is the oil and gas affiliated of PDVSA in the US. Here in the US is very well known because it has more than 6,000 gas stations across the US. So you can see a gas station of Citgo all over the US. Everybody that comes to the US in Florida, Tampa, Boston, New York, will find a gas station. It's very common. By the way, the Citgo sign is very iconic in Boston, because in Boston there is a stadium called the Ringling Field that where it's very famous, and there is the sign. It's the only sign in all the city of Boston. The only sign that you can see in the whole city is the Citgo sign, because it's a landmark. It's a national landmark in there. So what I want to say that I was working in two of the biggest companies of Venezuela and the US when this happened to me, because I was getting retired, and I received a call to go to a last-minute business trip to Caracas, Venezuela, and it became to be an ambush because they was having issues with the Trump administration. By the way, that is coming back this Monday so it was the Trump administration, and Trump was imposing sanctions to that country because people in Europe maybe are not so aware, but Venezuela is a communist regime. And they did a fake election. And by the way, this guy did the third time a fake election. So he has been doing fake election and renewing his presidency in a sham way. So Trump was trying to throw back these guys, and they didn't find nothing else that take 6 Venezuelan American guys like me. I was the president of the company, and the other 5 guys were the vice presidents of the company. So we flew the president and the 5 vice presidents of the company to Venezuela, and we were captured and accused to be American spies. And that's why we became, the press put us the name Citgo 6, because we were 6 guys. So that's how.
Was there any notion, some idea that this could have happened? Or I mean, you were sending people, American citizens to a communist country, a communist regime. Was there a risk? Did you guys even think about this, or not at all?
No, not at all, not at all. Because by the time we were the first, we unfortunately inaugurated the technique in Venezuela. This is something that this communist regime doing in other countries. Russia has done it a lot. China has done it a lot. Iran, even there is not a communist regime, but it's a theocratic regime. It is the father of this technique. This is something that is called the hostage diplomacy. That is, they take a high stake.
Hostage diplomacy.
Diplomacy. Yeah, today it's
Diplomacy.
very well known because it's a technique. It's a technique that these countries apply. You are a guy that you're a normal guy, but maybe you have a high profile because you're a president of a company, or maybe you're some personality. You don't have to be a politician, but they target you, and then once they target you, they create you a sham trial, and they begin to negotiate. They negotiate like a normal ransom. They take you as hostage. Period.
What were the political, what were they trying to negotiate with the American parties? What was the point?
Because Trump, 6 months before our situation, he had imposed sanctions to the country, to the officers, and had done an oil embargo. So the country was going bad, and they decided to take us hostage and began to ask to get us released, having the sanction relief and the oil embargo lifted. It was a big deal what they were asking for us.
Yeah, that was a big deal. And was this the first time that you'd heard of this situation, or were you aware of this happening around the world with people being kidnapped and held ransom? Were you aware of that, or not at all?
Not at all. Let me tell you, my friend, when I came back 5 years after, we landed here in October 1st, 2022. And my wife, of course, she was very involved in the situation. And when I began to know what was going on. I knew what was going on 1 month after I came back, because 1 month after I came back, I flew to Washington to say thanks to the authorities. And there's a mural in Washington with our faces. So I wanted to take some photos in the mural. And there's the first time I begin to meet other families, because I begin to see more than 60 families having the same issue across the U.S. So now today I'm connected not only to the families, there are foundations. This case has become so serious here in the U.S. that the U.S. government created a special presidential office. It's called SPIHA, a Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, and he has a rank of the Subsecretary of State. So this has become a big deal here in the U.S., the hostage situation. I was not aware, my friend. I knew that after I came back, and that's why I decided to begin to talk. And I begin to talk, being interviewed, begin to do podcasts, going to TV, do articles. So that's how I became one of the most visible voices here today in the US talking about this.
So when you go to these podcasts, these meetings, and so what are you trying to say? What is the message that comes? Do you say to these people, don't go? Is that possible? Be aware, ask the right questions. What do you advise?
Well, there are two things. One is my advocacy for the hostage situation, that I talk about how is the situation, how the families suffer, how you handle things after you come back. Today I'm that when they come back, they call me, and I try to attack them. I have been talking about the risk of going to some countries. Today, this situation has evolved in a way that the U.S. government has a page where it has all the countries that they are banned to go. They have a category called Category D. All the countries that have the Category D are not allow Americans to go because of this situation. But this, for me, that has been evolving, because there's where I decided to become a coach. I decided to convert this in a coaching program, and I wrote my book on my story. But the way I began to evolve in my situation was going more into the resilience of the human being, how you can unleash that is unbreakable leadership spirit that you have inside. Because, Gary, I discovered that I have done all my life leadership position, but really I discovered that how you can be a true leader when you go to extreme situation like I went. That's where you are tested if you really are a leader or not. And that's what.
Tell us a little bit about okay, so you were 5 years in captivity. Was it 5 years? So when I mean, tell us a little bit about like what was a normal day in captivity? Tell us, because we don't know. I've never been in captivity. So what was a normal day or a normal week for the inmates?
Well, it was evolving. Let me tell you, because maybe we could stay hours talking here, but because our situation evolved. The first year was terrible. We were put as my colleagues 1 year after. I stayed 1 year, not only in solitary confinement with the lights 24/7 turned on. I didn't have notion of the time. I lost a sense of time. I was not allowed to have books, nothing. I was totally isolated. I began to starve because there was lack of food because of the sanctions. The country was having issue with food and medicine. So I began to have problems with my food. I lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
I began to have a lot of issues. I had scabies. I suffered pneumonia, bronchitis. So the situation began to be very bad the first year. We were almost died. But for reasons of God, because the situation began to go so bad that the two ambassadors were recalled, the U.S. ambassador and the Venezuelan ambassador. They broke diplomatic relations, and as today, there's no ambassador in Venezuela of the U.S. As of today, after that situation. And then when the relation between Venezuela and U.S. began to be very deteriorated, the U.S. began to work with the UN, and the UN flew to Venezuela. So our situation 1 year after began to evolve after the intervention of the UN. The UN, they had to intervene. And then we will put the six together after 1 year. There, our situation began to be more manageable because we were six oil and gas executives. So we did kind of like a board, and we decided what we called a survival plan. And that was our next step during the next 4 years, was our survival plan.
So the question we're talking about resilience when you were there. What did you discover about yourself? What did you suddenly find that your inner strength? What did you discover when you were there that you didn't know before?
Well, this is very important, your question, because this is exactly the basis of my coaching today. Oh. Everybody has inside that inner force. Everybody. You don't know it. The people that are hearing this maybe don't know that they have that superpower. But when you go to situation extremes in your life, it doesn't have to be captivity. It can have to be any situation in your life. It can be a personal situation, can be a financial situation, can be any situation. Yeah. And you can feel lost and stuck in the situation. There comes like a stepping point when you decide to, okay, or I stay here, or I say this is my new situation, and you face it, and you decide to overcome it. There's when you decide to change your mindset. When you decide, because this is a very personal choice, when you decide to change your mindset, and you decided to say, okay, this is my new reality, this is my situation, but I'm gonna face it. That's what happened to me.
So how did you change the mindset? I mean, what happened to you? Was it just an acceptance, a surrender? I can't do it. Was it that, or was it something, I'm going to fight against this, or how did you change your mindset?
I decided to fight because I began to think in my family. By that time, I had 32 years married. Today, I had 39. I had 32 years married. I had 3 wonderful kids. And I began to think in them and say, Jose, you have to come back. You had to come back. And not only come back, you had to come back in one piece. In one piece, soul, body, and spirit. And when I decided to do that, everything began to change. But my real change, my friend, was after the year that we were put together. Not only having the strong bonding with the other, is when we really rediscover God. When we get that faith, you get connected to that faith that you don't know when you're gonna come, you don't know how it's going to be, but you begin to work in that direction, that changed everything. So today I talk about this.
So tell us a little bit about faith. Are we talking? I mean, you talk about God. You talk about an exterior entity. You talk about something that's inside of you. What is God? Where is God? What is faith? Where can people find it? Do we need it? Because today, in our very fast world, people are looking for a quick fix, or they're looking for solutions outside of them. My question, Jose, is the solution outside of us, or is it inside of us? Where do we find the faith and God?
It is inside us. God is inside you. God is in your heart. God is with you. And you don't see it because sometimes we don't have that spiritualized. And I today, after I came back, that I've been very involved in I do church service. I'm a Christian guy. But when I discovered that he was always there, and he never abandoned us, because believe me, even we went through a lot of extreme situations. We were having that in that moment I didn't understand it, but he was protecting us. He was there. He was there. When we begin to rediscover him, as we begin to pray, we begin to 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 read the Bible. In our case, one of that guy, he prays Buddhism, so he was not reading the Bible, but he was giving his praise to Buddha. So everybody went to his own path, and there with us were guys that they were Muslims, and they were Jews, and were Freemasons. So we were people that had the different belief, but everybody was praising and worshiping their own belief, and that really created a real bond, because now you are putting your burdens into your faith, and that changed everything. When you begin
and so how did you come to terms with, because this was an injustice, it was something that you were not aware of, it was unjust, and it happened, and maybe it was a God or faith or destiny or whatever we can say happened to you. How did you come to the acceptance that this is it and we must accept it, or we must fight it, or we must, how did you come to that acceptance there? That
well, even
no, in order not to play the victim, because some people, Jose, in that situation play the victim, and then they say, why me? And so did you go through that process as well?
yes, of course. It's very typical in the human being that when you go into a university, the first reaction is, why this is happening to me?
Yeah.
In my case, I begin to blame God. God, why you doing this to me? Because I was having my perfect life. I was ready every time. So it to me in the midst of get retired. So I thought that was unjust, and I was blaming God. Why this happened to me? That was my first reaction. It's very typical, very common to do it. That you begin to blame and deny. You begin to deny this is not true. This is not happening. This is a mistake. So this is very common to go to those sentiments. But again, when you decided to say, "Hey, my friend, this is my new reality," no matter what is the situation, this is my new reality. So we begin to be prepared to the long run. By the way, the guy that was with that he praised Buddhism, he's a marathon runner. He today still runs marathon, and he was explaining us that in the marathon world, when you are being prepared to go to the marathon, you have to be prepared to the long run, because they have something they call hitting the wall. When they're running the marathon in the last mile, they appear something that they hit the wall. They get like I cannot make this.
Okay.
And most of the marathon runners quit.
Okay.
1 mile before getting to the finish line. So we begin to get prepared to the long run. We didn't know when we were preparing to be there. I don't know how much time, but we knew that at some point we were going to come back.
But you didn't know when you were going to hit the wall, right?
No.
And so when you run a marathon, you usually know you've got 42 kilometers, and 5 kilometers before the end, 37 kilometers, you're going to hit the wall. So you have some sort of an idea of, I've got to mentally prepare myself. But in your case, you didn't have the wall. You didn't know whether it was going to be 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. So what kept you going?
Well, because we create this survival plan, and this survival plan was very, very simple. We begin to save, for example, okay, let's have a routine to eat. To eat. We were having receiving food from our family. So we decided, because now we're in a tiny room that's 6. So we needed to manage the space. So we begin to do our breakfast in a way that everybody could take the breakfast alone. So we begin to, after that, have exercises. We begin to have a routine of exercise. By the time we were allowed to have books, we begin to read. I begin to smuggle letters and to begin to write to my wife. And by the way, the way I wrote my book is based on those letters that I was allowed to smuggle with her. Because
you had to smuggle them out of the prison, out of the...
Yes, because we were receiving, by that time, 1 year after, we began to receive food from our family. And I had to return the trash cans to the person that was providing me the food. So I began to smuggle the letters inside the trash cans.
Okay.
And for some reason, they never discovered the letters. So I could smuggle during 3 years almost 1,000 letters.
So the smuggling as well, Jose, how was that? I mean, how did you find out that you could do it? Did you speak openly to the guard? How was that? Was it done from the outside or was it done from the inside? How was that done?
No, I put a letter one time in the can and it went through. And then I received that 2-3 days after food, and I found a letter of my wife. It went through, and we began to do it, and it went through, and then we continued doing it, and we kept doing it during 3 years.
It was done from the outside. So your wife had to pay someone to do that or organize that?
No. I had somebody that was providing me the food. He was arranging the logistic. My son flew to Colombia. He moved to Colombia, and he began to provide the food from Colombia to Venezuela, and somebody pick up the food, they cook. It was a complicated logistic. They do it during 4 years. And the guy that provided me the food, he brought the food every 2-3 days. And when he came for the trash can to provide more food, there were the letters. So he took a photo of the letter. He sent a WhatsApp to my wife that was here in the US, and she came back and wrote back. So it was a very complex logistic.
Very complicated. Listen. Talking about motivation. Tell me a little bit about, like, when you're motivated in business, especially, Jose. You need to also celebrate the small victories, not only the big victories, even the small victories, right? Yeah,
correct.
As a business coach, you know that. And so my question is, when you were in captivity, what kind of small victories did you celebrate with you and your colleagues? Did you have any moments when you said, okay, let's celebrate this, whether it's someone's birthday or whether you just got through another day or whether the food arrived, or were there any small moments where you actually, you were grateful for what was happening in a way?
Oh, we did it on a daily basis. Let me tell you, we did several things. Let me tell you something. Every night after we prayed, we did first a Bible reading, and then we prayed. After we finished praying, that was around 10 a.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. We shouted out, this is one more day, but it's one less day. And we said, we're going to be good in body, soul, and spirit, and we went to bed. Every anniversary, every birthday, we celebrated. We begin to do in the evening a domino tournament. We begin to play domino. So we begin to celebrate those small things, and we were cheering each other. We begin to talk about our family, because let me tell you something. Something for me was kind of a miracle that we discovered, because we were not friends. So we didn't know about our stories. When we were put together, we discovered that the 6 of us had more than 30 years married. So we have in common that all of us had more than 30 years married. And all of us had wonderful kids, wonderful family. So now we're talking all the day long of our families, of our trips, of our food. So we were celebrating all the day long. That keep us going.
Mm-hmm. So you found yourself in this adversity, in this really terrible situation. So what was the motivation to keep going? Just to get back to your family, to have justice, to what? What was the motivation to keep you
back to the family? Everybody was thinking it was in the family.
So for someone watching this video, and they're trying to take something away, what can you tell them that how can they find motivation in adversity, in something, in injustice? How can they find, what can they do to find the way?
There's several things. The first thing that you have to do in any adversity is first accept it. Accept whatever you're going through, accept it. Once you accept it, you have to be focused in the situation. You need to be focused. You need to understand what's going on. And when you get focused and calm, you can begin to see the things more clear. Sometimes you will see the answers in front of you, or sometimes you have the path and you don't see it. The third thing is that you have to connect with the people that surround you. For example, if you're in a business, if you're a business owner or a CEO, whatever, you have to connect with your employees. And in your family, you have to connect with your family. In my case, I could come back because of my family. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is that you have to take care of your mental and physical health, because it's very common when you're going through an adversity that you don't take care of yourself. You abandon yourself physically and mentally. And the fifth thing is connect with your spirituality, connect with your faith, connect with your hope, and connect with whom you ever believe. In my case, I connected with God.
So what did you start to do this straight away, Jose, or did it take a little bit of time before you actually started implementing? I mean, obviously at the beginning, you probably thought this is not happening. It's not real. They're going to come back and say they've made a mistake and they're going to let us out and they're going to send us back to America, to the States. I imagine that was what was going on in your head. But so how long passed before you suddenly said, no, let's put down a routine. Let's actually start preparing for the long run. How long did it pass? Like, was it a month? Was it a week? Was it 3 months?
No. Was a long time, because the first year I was really, really in a bad shape, and I was having I'm gonna be honest, I'm having suicidal thoughts. But when I begin to think in my family, and by the way, the first time my wife flew, and I could see her like 3 hours, and she was telling us that they were working hard to bring us back. That's when I knew the U.S. government was, trying to bring us back. So the situation began to evolve. I don't know, in months, but the real stepping point was when we were putting together 1 year after. So it took like 1 year when we really were in a mood to prepare to the long run. It took like 1 year, really.
Yeah.
Like 1 year.
Talking about your beliefs, like, your religious beliefs, but also your belief in God. So where we're talking about beliefs now, and we're talking about business, and someone watching this video, what do you say to someone who tries to talk about, to bring their beliefs into a leadership role or into a working environment? Would you say that is something that they should keep separate, or is it something that a leader or an owner should bring into the workplace? What would you say to that about beliefs?
Well, it's a great question, Gary, because I yesterday was in Dallas. I'm connected to a group here in the U.S. called the C-Suite for Christ. That is an organization of business owners with Christian faith basis. So yesterday there was a big summit called the Savoir Summit, the Winter Savoir Saber. Sorry, there was hundreds of business owners, all of them faith based. It was incredible what I was hearing. People, they're having their business oriented through the faith in God. So they're having connected their belief with their companies, and they're becoming successful. And you know why? Because when you connect and you understand that who really multiply is not you. It's not because you're a great guy. It's because God is giving you that provision, the abundance to multiply. When you understand those principles, you become successful. And I heard from tons of people there that they're doing great because of that, when they discovered that. So for me, you don't have to get separated. Even if you're in a business owner position or a CEO position, you, of course, you don't have to impose your belief to your employees, but you can share with them. Share about being compassionate, be kind, be empathic. And this is something that a great leader that do, no matter what your beliefs are.
So when we talk about, are we talking about religion, or are we talking about being spiritual? There is a difference, right? Jose, being religious or being...
I'm not talking about religion, because let me tell you, sometimes the religion confuses things. I'm talking about more being spiritual.
Okay.
You don't have to be religious to believe in God.
Okay. Okay. So there's a great story about God, you know. The story is the gods are worried that the humans are going to discover the gods and become more powerful than the gods. Okay, so they're going to discover the spirit of God. And so the gods have a meeting and they say, okay, we need to hide this spirit, because if the humans discover this, they'll become more powerful than us. So one god says, let's put the spirit in the highest mountain where the people, you know, the humans can't go there. And the other god said, no, 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 no. Listen, the humans can arrive there. We need to find another place. So another god says, let's take the spirit and put it in the ocean, in the bottom of the ocean, where the humans can't go. And the other god said, no, no, no. Humans are very intelligent. They'll be able to go down in the ocean and get it. And so they had this meeting and they're saying, so what are we going to do? Because if they find the spirit, then, you know, we don't have a job, because the humans will become God. And so the smallest god says, I have a solution. He said, let's put the spirit inside the man, because the humans are so busy looking for God outside, in the mountains, in the ocean, in the jungles, anything outside, that they don't look inside. So we have the spirit inside of us, but we don't look inside, we look outside. And so that was the story that I heard many years ago. And what do you think that's something that's inside of us, that people, you know, that should motivate the way we are with each other, with you and me? You have a God inside of you, and I have a God inside of me. And so when we meet, I'm looking at God, because I'm looking at the God that's inside of you.
Yeah, totally. We're so we come from here. So he's inside us. God is in our heart. By the way, when we were there, as I said, my colleague that he praised Buddhism, we did an exchange of opinion with him. We got to the conclusion that even there are different. There are a lot of connections. For example, in the Buddhism, they say that the God is in your heart, and the Christianity is the same. You say that God is inside you. He's in your heart. The Paul, he always said the guy's inside you, in your heart. So it's inside you. And when I talk about that, everybody has that inner force. It's because that inner force is connected to God. What you have to do is unleash it. And that's why you can see people doing incredible things that you say, wow, how this guy did that, because he could unleash it. That inner force that everybody has inside. And part of my coaching program today is that, how you can unleash it. How everybody has that superpower inside.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about, you said that, you know, you're in a confined space, 6 people. I can imagine it's like an office. You have a small office and you have people all together managing emotions. What is, you know, emotional intelligence? That's a very important thing that people today, we see them in the streets, people in their cars, you know, maybe everyone's just lost contact with the way to be, the emotions, managing it. How did you manage your emotions when you were in that confined space with 5 other people?
Well, let me tell you, we did it super great. I can tell you, I cannot stress more every time I see them, because we have seen us from time to time. I always tell them we did it great, super great. Because imagine 6 guys in a 100 square foot place, 3 bulk bed of 2 stories, didn't have space to be there. The probability to have argument was really high. But we did the commitment that any argument, anything that was going, immediately the people will stop and we will talk about it. And we never left nobody going down. So we did a lot of things to keep us, high. And we did it great. I can tell you, we really at the end did it great. We did it great because we could manage it.
So what advice would you give? I mean, for enclosed small spaces, confined spaces where people are working today, what are some of the tips? How do we manage our emotions? You said you and your colleagues spoke about it. Well, what can people do? What can a leader do in a confined space, in an office space?
Communication. Have honest and transparent communication. And if something is going wrong, whatever is happening in your company, communicate with your employees. Have communication. The key is communication.
As emotions, isn't it right that we should be able to express our emotions, or is it something that we should be aware of and say, no, this is not the right place to express that emotion? What's your thoughts on that? Because I mean, obviously,
No,
you were in a
you had to be open. You had to be honest. You had to be open. You had to be transparent and communicate your emotion, because this is the only way you can handle it. This is the only way the others can understand you, whatever is going on.
Yeah, because I think there needs to be also a moment where you actually express your emotions, whether it's because if you just keep it inside of you, there's a risk of you exploding in the wrong moment or not.
Correct. Yeah.
So tell us about the leadership. When you were the 6 people in a confined space, who was the leader? Was the title that you had, the CEO or whatever, outside, entitled you to be leader also inside or not?
No. Let me tell you, we decided that we're gonna be the 6 at the same level, and at some point, depending of the expertise, somebody could take the leadership. For example, one of our guy was an expert handling tanks. He in the past he worked with the tank management in and that guy, we had issue with the handling of the water, so he began to handle the water tank. He was an expert in that. One of our guy, he was a guy that came from the planning world. He was keeping the schedule of every activity, so everybody was leading depending your expertise. And because I was the CEO when previously, for some reason the other guys saw me like the leader, but I tried to maintain like a team. We really were working like a team. So nobody was trying to be the leader of the other. That was not happening.
Well, were you surprised by anything from the colleagues? People, maybe someone who you thought was stronger mentally, and then they had difficult moments, or there were people who actually came and became stronger. Were there any insights that you got from that?
Yeah. That's a question, because there was some other colleague that they were hitting the wall very, very hard. And let me tell you, some of them I was really proud that we could come back, because the wall was in their face. Some of them were doing it better. I remember I always talk about this, that one day before we were released, one of my colleagues that was the most positive of the 6. He was the most positive, and I saw him very down. So I came to him and he said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he said, "I'm sick and tired. I don't know when this is gonna finish." And I told him, "Hey, my friend, we're gonna go in any moment. You know, continue with the way you're behaving." He was really down, and we came the day after.
And when you were in that captivity, what were the guards, the wardens, the prison wardens, whatever? What was their relationship with you? How did they treat you? Did they treat you differently to the other prisoners?
As I said, for some reason they saw me like the leader. So at some point I had some kind of a. They every time they were coming to us, they saw me like the leader of the group. So I became like the focal point of the group. So, but the situation began to evolve. It began to evolve because when the relation between the U.S. and government began to be more serious, having the commitment to negotiate our release, the relation with us changed.
Yeah. Tell us some of the leadership lessons that you learned when you were there. You said that you tried to keep everyone as a leader, but was that possible? So what were you delegating, communication? How did you do that as the nominated leader?
We try to do this like a team. Of course, as I said, at some point you had to lead. For example, when the people was going down, I was trying to lead that having the team cohesive. But one of the lessons is that begin to be connected with the people in the human being essence. So really understanding the human being. And today this is something that I tell the people, that the way that they can connect to their employee is treating them as human being. Because one of the things we discovered there is that we were human beings, all going through the same ordeal, having the same issue. So there was no difference. So we begin to get connected as human beings, knowing the people like they really are, not the titles that they had before, what they really are.
So before you found yourself in this situation, you said you didn't really know your colleagues that well.
Some of them was the first time I saw them. The 5 of my colleagues, 4 of them, I didn't know them. Was the first time I saw them.
And so what did that teach you about humans, about people? Like, you didn't know them, but then you suddenly found yourself 5 years with these people that you never had any information about. So what did it teach you as a human, Jose?
Well, for me was today I say that it's a miracle of God that 6, as I said, that 6 of us had 30 plus year married. That is a very 6 guys proudly select that the 6 were 30 plus year married. The probability is really low that happened. And it happened. We had a lot of things in common.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that, sometimes that we are not so different. Sometimes we think we are different, and it's Jose and it's Gary, and you are from America or Venezuela. I'm from UK, living in Italy. We're so different, but in the end, we are not any different, really. We just don't. Maybe our paths have not crossed, and today they have. In that moment with those 5 other people, they hadn't crossed before, and then they crossed in that situation. And so you probably saw.
Gary, I'm kind of running out of time.
You're running out of time?
Yeah, because I have like 2 minutes to go to my other meeting.
to next meeting. Okay, listen, I was going to say the last question was exactly, was talking about, from your pain, you've gone to a purpose. Your purpose now is the advocacy. You're talking, you're being invited lots of places to talk about what you went through. So thank you very much for being here with us. Anyway, whoever's listening to this video will take away some of your insights, some of your nuggets of leadership, resilience, motivation. So thank you for spreading the word, and hopefully I'll see you again sometime.
Yeah, sorry, because I'm running out of time. My webpage is Jose. You can find me everything there in my webpage. You can find the coaching, my speaking, my book that I'm promoting it. By the way, I have several friends in Italy and UK that have bought the book. So because it's in Amazon, so you go in Amazon Italy, you can find it. So yeah, today this is part of my calling. Talk about this, spread the word of you can overcome things in life, and at the same time spread the advocacy for the hostage community. So this is kind of my two things today. And thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you, Jose. Good luck with your family, and thank you for your time.